एक इस ऑनलाइन कन्वेंशन को शुरू करने से पहले एक शोक प्रस्ताव पढ़ूंगा सोनिया डबास की याद में। यह ऑनलाइन सम्मेलन जेजीयू यूनिवर्सिटी की शोध छात्रा सोनिया डबास की आत्महत्या पर गहरा दुख प्रकट करता है और उन्हें भावभीनी श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता है। मैं सभी से अपील करता हूं कि सोनिया डबास की याद में सब लोग 1 मिनट का मौन धारण करें। अब मैं डेमोक्रेटिक रिसर्च स्कॉलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के ज्वाइंट कन्वीनर अर्घव दास को मैं इनवाइट करूंगा, वो आए और आगे इस प्रोग्राम का संचालन करें।
शुक्रिया उमेश मौर्य जी का। उमेश मौर्य महर्षि दयानंद यूनिवर्सिटी से है, तो वो एक शब्द प्रस्ताव रखा है और हमें रिक्वेस्ट किए है कि इस जो कार्यक्रम है इसको हम संचालना करें। तो पहले ही मैं उमेश जी को शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ और मैं इस कार्यक्रम का जो अगला जो पार्ट है उसका शुरुआत करता हूँ। ओके, सो मैं ज़्यादातर इंग्लिश में ही यहाँ पर मेरा जो बात है वो रखूँगा। जैसे उमेश जी ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया कि मैं डेमोक्रेटिक रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ये एक ऑल इंडिया स्कॉलर्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है, उसका मैं ज्वाइंट कन्वीनर हूँ। तो उस हिसाब से मैं 2-3 बात बहुत ही ब्रीफली पहले मैं रखना चाहता हूँ। ओके, हाँ, थैंक यू। हाँ जी, ओके। So, okay, so as you have heard, this program is organized by Democratic Research Scholars Organization, which is an all India level research scholar organization which is working for last almost 9 years. This organization started from 2012, actually following another very tragic incident, following another death of another scholar. This time the scholar was Pritam Bhattacharya. He was a scholar of Assam, Assam University at Silchar. He was traveling to New Delhi for academic purpose, of course. In the meantime, in Bihar, his bags and other things were snatched, and while chasing the perpetrators, he was also kidnapped. And after that, of course, we the research scholars, his friends, and all the concerned people, we started campaigning to the police, to the ministries, the authorities. This news even went on to the parliament. It was happening in 9 years back, precisely in this month, June 2012. And actually, as far we know, he was kidnapped on June 15th. So after that, what happened after all this agitation and all this voice, his dead body was found. He was brutally murdered and his body was kept on the rail line, and we found his body in pieces. And of course, after that, all the research scholars in Delhi, in West Bengal, in Assam, in Maharashtra, in south of India, Bangalore, they came and they protested. before that, we have a perception that we are research scholars, we are more or less bounded within the boundaries of our research institutions. But we soon found that the society, we are really interlinked to the society. The goods and evils are affecting us. And we really need to start raising our voice. So after that, after the scholars protest, we actually came together to meet various scholars from various other institutions throughout India. And what we come to know that I was then in SN Bose Center, for example, for taking my example, and I found that the problems I am facing in my institute, the scholars who are in other institutions, they are also facing similar kind of problems, or at times very serious other problems. So that was the first seed in which we realized that we really should be coming together and talking together and start really understanding what we are facing, the problems and the issues in our research lives. We really need to understand that and really need to come together to fight that. And this is not a one-day issue. This is a long-term problem going on for years, and we have to also start fighting for years. With this initiative and motivation, which say some 15 or 20 scholars from Kolkata, this organization, Democratic Research Scholars Organization, started. It started in October 2012, and from then on, in a relentless and uncompromising manner, we have carried out a number of protests and movements. We have carried out a number of seminars and webinars to analyze the problem, to understand the issues and the policies, of which is resulting into the crisis we are facing in our day-to-day life. Often we don't realize that these are related to some policies or to some core issues, but it is really connected. All the problems that we say, they are connected to the policies in which the entire system is running. For example, my left hand and right hand, these two are apparently separate, but it is connected to my body, and the way my body is working, my both hands are affected in good or bad way. Similarly, it is our feeling, and with this feeling, we really tried to take up movements and initiatives and channelize them in a proper direction. For example, there can be some demand, there are some protests. We have also taken part in numerous protests, that is from non-net movement, that is from fellowship hike movement. We are there in this fellowship hike movement from 2014 onwards. From 2012, there is movements regarding university structure and fees and several other things. Also against harassment, this DRSO is the leading All India organization that really came up and fight regarding all these issues. And in these movements, we really found that a sustained scholar unity across the country based on a correct outlook is very important if we want to get success in a movement, and also if we want to fight and take the movement in such a direction and such a magnitude where the root cause of the problems could be tackled. It is not really some isolated demands, but finally we have to really fight about the policies and the core principles in which this academia is being controlled. So in this regard, we have earlier conducted a convention of South India scholars. We have conducted meeting of Eastern India and Northeast India scholars, all this in last 6 months. And in its follow-up, we are conducting the convention today, which is primarily for North India scholars. Also in Facebook Live, scholars from all over India is looking into it. So the issue from which this North India convention started, as you have seen, this is in memory of Sonia Davas. So I am not reiterating the incident, but you know that we have immediately given memorandum to all the authorities and also the GJU authority, the Haryana Education Minister, UGC, and Ministry of Education of Government of India. And right after that, we have conducted a nationwide protest day, which has a very huge impact in Twitter. And following that, only day before yesterday, you might have seen the news report where the investigation committee of the university have submitted a report to the VC, following which the Vice Chancellor has suspended the HOD of the Bio-Nano department for the time until the investigation is over. And also, they have convened a grievances cell. Earlier, there was no grievances cell, as per my knowledge, but they have actually built up a new grievance cell, which is a huge achievement of this movement. Without our voice, it would not be possible. Without the voice of research scholars, it would not have been done. So we congratulate all for this achievement. And also, they have given some 70 recommendations so that the research environment in GJU can be improved. But we know that it is not only GJU, it is all over Haryana, all over North India, and all over India. All the scholars are facing severe abuses and harassments. There are so many other issues related to fellowship, like infrastructure. There are questions on our future. So all these issues. So there is, we achieve a significant example, but really this is only a scratch. And we also don't know whether all these recommendations will be realized and whether the university says that, okay, we are giving a good environment, whether it will be really provided. So we have to follow it up. So with this motto, we are in this convention. This is not only about abuse and harassments, but this is to talk about all the issues and problems we are facing. So again, I welcome all the research scholars in this platform. And now I will request, actually there is a formality of this convention, I just tell that before, that a convention have a particular theme, a certain theme, with which the organizers are viewing this convention. So based on which we have prepared a resolution of the convention. This resolution will be read, will be placed before you, and based on the resolution, the research scholars, you will give your opinion and suggestions and say your points very briefly. So I request Mr. Amit Kumar from CSIR CSIO Chandigarh to read the resolution for you.
Thank you, Argodas. Right now, I am going to read the resolution of this North India Scholars Convention, which is like abuse and mistreatment, mental health issues, depression, and even suicide deaths in academia are becoming a dangerously common phenomenon. Some research has been done in a few advanced nations regarding the research ecosystem, which leads to such psychological hazards. In India, this problem is acute so much so that almost each and every research scholar across the length and breadth of the country is suffering from mental health issues of some degree. We, however, note that except some feeble media attention following a significant number of scholar suicides in very recent years, this matter is completely neglected. There is no effort even in pursuing any comprehensive study. This being the general picture, India's research arena is becoming more and more hostile, particularly for female students and scholars, as the incident of sexual harassment can neither be curbed nor addressed. Not only the incident of Sonia Dabas, but in last 2 or 3 years, such reports came to from IACS Kolkata, SNBN CBS Kolkata, IIT Bhubaneswar, IISER Kolkata, IIT ISM Dhanbad, and so on. We still recall with horror the 3-year-old news from JNU, where 9 female students lodged FIR against a faculty, and without exception, there either is no redressal mechanism or it is defunct. It is no wonder that, according to the report of 2017, the instances of sexual offences had increased by more than 50% in 1 year. And we all know that the statistics of reported offences is just a tip of the iceberg. This way, the vulnerable and suffering scholars are pushed to the edge of their agony until no other way is left, except either to leave academia or, in worst case, life. Not only such direct abuse and harassments, but the convention is being held in such a time where the entire research arena and the lives of scholars are drowning in grave disasters. On one hand, the perpetual policy paralysis and fund crisis had already left research and education sector reeling. Above that, COVID crisis happened. The manifestly unplanned management that resulted from a negligible priority now overcast a shadow of a novel and deep uncertainty of the present and future of the community. If we look at the pre-COVID picture, what we had, that discrimination among the scholars in terms of fellowship and other benefits was on the rise. Non-net fellowship, which amount of meager rupees 8,000 for PhD scholars, was discontinued in many universities. MTech, MPhil fellowship were stopped. A large section of scholars were not even entitled to any fellowship. Those who get it, the fellowship were extremely irregular in many cases. However, the fees were very systematic and the amount were on the rise. The High Education Funding Agency (HEFA) had been put in place with a stated goal to attract private investment. Instead of funding, this turned out to be a loan providing agency, which resulted into immense burden on the student and the scholars. Apart from such day-to-day and visual set of severe problems, a very systematic design were enforced to push basic sciences, arts, humanities towards gradual oblivion at the behest of so-called useful research. This is manifest not only from funding priorities, but also the acute infrastructural crisis that includes operational laboratories and instruments, libraries, access of journals, hostels, and maintenance. The neglect to all these had reached a stage where even the physical safety and security get compromised, resulting in occasional fire incident from, say, AC machine. Uh, 2 years back, such neglect even resulted in the death of 3 fellows in an institutions like IISc. Another side is, while the institution were barely functioning under a huge shortage of faculty and R&D persons, the PhD scholars who had been graduated from these institutions only were mostly remained jobless. And during COVID, the picture of all these, starting from scholars intake till post PhD and postdoc opportunities, are plummeted. We are the miserably affected by prolonged closure of labs, restrictions of our lab, and field-based work, etc. Sharp curtailment of PhD to postdoc positions and project grants, depletion of funds, infrastructure of library and laboratories, etc. directly affect not only the research environment but also the innovation required for the country to overcome the crisis in multiple ways. Due to lack of maintenance for a long time, the infrastructure of the labs are in dilapidated conditions. All the official procedures are also delayed. As a result, for more than a year, research work has almost been stopped. But except very few cases, there is no extension of research tenure. Neither there is any announcement of fellowship and contingency extension. The fellowship run are also have become far more irregular. It is learned that the many CSIR scholars who are regarded as one of the leading researchers in the science streams are not getting fellowship for nearly a year. In addition, academic bullying and harassment of scholars are also on the rise, which only makes the condition much more miserable. There are so many other severe and at times subtle issues. This overall situation affects our mental health, resulting in depression and even suicide among scholars. But this was not supposed to go this way. In fact, this pandemic once again showed us the need of sciences and humanities research as well as the value of research scholars for human society. The picture being dark, the most prominent and encouraging change over the last year is that the research scholars and the academic community as a whole started coming together and raising the voice. Thousands of eminent scientists, faculties, and of course researchers are participating in the March for Science. It is further encouraging that even in the so-called one-to-one cases like harassment, the victims and the scholar communities are turning around to understand the problem properly and fight them to its root. The research scholars are getting organized across the country, which resulted in this platform we are standing today. The convention convey solidarity to all fighting scholars in their protest against all these around crises. Echoing with scholars' voice, the convention pledged to build up stronger and united long-term movements with a view to eliminate the menace of harassment, to turn the policy paralysis and the crisis into a paradigm where research and education thrives for the material and spiritual upliftment of the entire society, and to retrieve the dignity of academia. Scholar solidarity, long live. Arghya Das, kindly.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. Amit is a research scholar from CSIR, which is at Chandigarh. So, before going into the main session, I will request Mr. H.S. Rajesh of Maharshi Dayanand University to speak in support of this resolution. He may speak in Hindi.
थैंक यू अर्घ्या जी। मैं इस रेजोल्यूशन का प्रस्ताव का पूर्णतः समर्थन करता हूं, और जो DRSO लंबे समय से मैं देख रहा हूं कि इन समस्याओं को लेकर के जब से खास
राजेश जी वीडियो इधर ऑन कर लीजिए, पॉसिबल हो तो। थैंक यू
जी। मैं कह रहा था कि DRSO का मैं खासतौर पे शुक्रिया करूंगा कि लंबे समय से, जैसे हम देख रहे हैं सोनिया डबास की जब से ये घटना हुई है, और लगातार सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से और जो भी जितना बन पा रहा है उसी हिसाब से कोरोना पीरियड में, हालांकि उतना वो चीजें मैनुअली नहीं हो रही, लेकिन फिर भी बहुत मजबूती के साथ लड़ रहे हैं, इसके लिए शुक्रिया। और ये जो समस्या है ये कोई पहली समस्या आज नहीं है, मैं कहूँगा लगातार हम लंबे समय से देख रहे हैं कि एजुकेशन फील्ड में, हायर एजुकेशन में आप देखिए रिसर्च करने की जो बात है सरकार की तरफ से वो तो एक है ही, और जो अनसाइंटिफिक जो बातें हैं वो लगातार सरकार के जो खुद बड़े बड़े मंत्री हैं उनके मुंह से, इवन जो रिटायर्ड जजेस है, खुद जो जजेस की पोस्ट पे उनसे भी इस तरह से जो लोग हैं वो भी इस तरह की वाहियात किस्म के बयानात देते हैं बारी बारी, हमने ऐसा अक्सर देखा है। और रिसर्च स्कॉलर, रिसर्च फील्ड में मैं उतना कुछ ज्यादा नहीं जानता हूँ, लेकिन जितना मैंने देखा है अखबारों के माध्यम से भी कि बहुत ज्यादा जो टीचर्स है जिनके अंडर, जो उनके मेंटर कह सकते हैं, या सीनियर टीचर जिनके अंडर PhD की जाती है, वो बहुत सारी अनवांटेड चीजें, यानी कि जो उसको एक तरह से गुलाम की तरह, स्लेव की तरह रखते हैं, और अपने जो काम है, निजी पर्सनल काम है, वो भी उनसे करवाते हैं। वैसे पूरे देश की एजुकेशन सिस्टम पे ही ये सवालिया चिन्ह है। हमने देखा कि कोटा जैसे जो संस्थान है, इंस्टीट्यूशन, वहाँ हम देखते हैं कि पंखे तक सीलिंग बदलवा दी 500-600 रुपए एक्स्ट्रा लेके, कि शायद वहाँ डेथ्स है वो ज्यादा होती थी, 12-13 का हर बार आंकड़ा है जो डिप्रेस्ड में होकर स्टूडेंट्स मर जा रहे हैं। तो ये पूरी की पूरी एक तो शिक्षा व्यवस्था की बात है, इसको हमें उससे अलग नहीं देखना चाहिए, इतर देखने की बात नहीं है कि हम शिक्षा व्यवस्था से अलग उसको देखें। और मैं समझता हूँ कि इसको लेके ठोस कदम उठाने चाहिए, और इसको लेके हमें अपनी जो फाइट है स्टूडेंट यूनिटी की हम बात करते हैं, उनको मजबूती से उसको लेकर के इन मुद्दों को जल्द से जल्द समाधान सरकार करे, और उसको लेके हम अपनी फाइट को जारी रखेंगे। इसी ये बात मैं बस कह सकता था जी।
शुक्रिया राजेश जी अपनी बात रखने के लिए इस रेजोल्यूशन और कन्वेंशन के समर्थन में। सो नाउ दिस इज द सेशन वेयर वी open the house for the research scholars who are here in this meeting to place their views and their points on the resolution very briefly. Since the time is limited, we can allow only 2 to 3 minutes for each research scholar. So I will request, we have research scholars coming from almost all the states in North India, from Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, from Jammu and Kashmir, from Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, Chandigarh, Delhi, and also many research scholars who have requested us to let them, because this is so important an issue, so that they can join in some way or other. So few of them from other states are also in the meeting, and also they are looking it into Facebook Live. So the home is open to research scholars. So, okay, and I just start by names. So, Prince Bharma from Garhwal University, Uttarakhand. Please place your points very briefly. Prince
First of
Bharma.
all, I would like to thank Mr. Arg to invite me this convention, and I think the convention belong to North Indian scholars, so I can speak in Hindi also. So सबसे पहले तो मैं जो ये घटना हुई है जिससे मुझे इसके बारे में पता लगा है, मैं इसका पूरी तरह से अपने शब्दों में, कड़े शब्दों में पूरी तरह से इसकी निंदा करता हूँ और सरकार को भी और मीडिया से जिस तरीके से ये बात पहुंच सकती है, क्योंकि मैं देख रहा हूँ जब से आपने बात कहना स्टार्ट किया है इस पूरी घटना को लेके जो सोनिया डबास जी के साथ हुआ, उसके ऊपर कोई भी ना तो कोई मीडिया का कोई ट्रायल हो रहा है, ना ही सोशल मीडिया पे इतना ज्यादा एक्टिवली दिख रहा है। ट्विटर पे भी हमारा ट्रेंड इतना, हम लोगों ने बहुत ट्राई किया पर इतना ज्यादा लोगों को उसका सपोर्ट नहीं मिल पाया। आगे और भी ट्राई करते रहेंगे, लेकिन हमें इस चीज से निराश नहीं होना है, क्योंकि हम बहुत बड़े सिस्टम के साथ शायद लड़ रहे हैं। हमें इन सब चीजों, पहले से जो मीडिया मैनेजमेंट इन सब चीजों को ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें अपनी फाइट को जारी रखना है। एक ये इशू है। दूसरा इशू हम लोग जो बात कर रहे हैं स्कॉलर्स की स्थिति को लेके, नॉर्थ इंडिया में नहीं, साउथ इंडिया में हर जगह लगा, जो मेरे किसी भाई ने बताया चंडीगढ़ से या हरियाणा से कि स्कॉलर्स को गुलाम की तरह उन्होंने काफी कड़े शब्दों में बोल दिया है। कई लोगों को शायद ये चीज ना लगे सही, लेकिन फिर भी काफी हद तक हम उसको रिलेट कर पाते हैं कि जो नॉन, स्पेशली जो नॉन नेट फेलोशिप जिनको मिलती है 8,000, कई इंस्टीट्यूट्स में उसको बोलते हैं कि ये आपकी फेलोशिप नहीं है, ये आपकी सैलरी है, आपको उसके लिए टीचिंग भी करना पड़ेगा, आपको उसको मार्क्स भी देने पड़ेंगे स्टूडेंट्स को, प्रैक्टिकल लो उनके उसी 8,000 में। उसके बाद आपको उनका घर का काम भी करना है, आपको उनके पेपर्स की एडिटिंग भी करनी है, रिसर्च में हेल्प करनी है, उनके बुक्स आ रही है उसमें चैप्टर भी लिखने हैं। उसके बाद भी आप अगर देखते हैं तो हम यूनिवर्सिटी के प्रायोरिटी में नहीं है, हम गवर्नमेंट की प्रायोरिटी में नहीं है। हम मतलब कि हमारा हमको एज ए स्टूडेंट यूनिवर्सिटी कंसीडर करती नहीं है, वो सोचती है हम उनके एम्प्लॉय हैं और हमको प्रोफेसर एज ए स्टूडेंट ट्रीट करते हैं। तो हम लोग कहीं बीच में कहीं ऐसे अटक गए हैं। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब तक अपनी हम आवाज को इस तरह से नहीं उठाएंगे कि हमें प्रायोरिटी में आना है, हमें प्रायोरिटी चाहिए। अगर हम रिसर्चर हैं, हमारा एक यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर, हमारा यूनिवर्सिटी के डिपार्टमेंट्स के अंदर इतना बड़ा रोल है, तो हम क्यों तो आपकी प्रायोरिटी लिस्ट में नहीं है? गवर्नमेंट हमारी हमारी बात नहीं सुनना चाहती, इस यूनिवर्सिटी हमको कंसीडर नहीं करना चाहती। तो बस मैं 2 या 3 मिनट में अपनी बातें खत्म कर रहा हूँ और आगे आप लोगों को सुनने के लिए मैं उपस्थित हूँ। थैंक यू।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया प्रिंस को अपनी बात रखने के लिए। और इसके बाद आगे कौन बोलेगा ये आप सामने आकर बोलिए। मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा रवि मिश्रा, जो संजय गांधी पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट इंस्टीट्यूट फॉर मेडिकल साइंस लखनऊ से है, उसको अपनी बात रखने के लिए। रवि मिश्रा जी, आप अगर मीटिंग में हैं तो अपना बात छोटे से 2-3 मिनट में रखिए।
मिश्रा जी, आपका माइक ऑफ है, कैन यू?
हेलो, आवाज आ रही है आप लोगों को?
हाँ 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 जी, हाँ जी।
मेरा नाम रवि है, मैं संजय गांधी पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट इंस्टीट्यूट से हूँ, पल्मोनी डिपार्टमेंट में। और अभी तो यहाँ पे भी जैसा प्रिंस जी ने बताया कि यूपी के ऑल ओवर इंडिया में सेम ही सिचुएशन है, रिसर्चर को कोई वैल्यू नहीं दी जाती है और हम लोग चाहे जितना भी कर लें पूरे दिन काम करते रहते हैं, कभी भी कॉल करके बुला लिया जाता है। मेरा सिचुएशन तो एटलीस्ट थोड़ा सही है, लेकिन और रिसर्चर का बहुत ही खराब स्थिति है सारे मेडिकल कॉलेज में, क्योंकि हमारा एक कलीग है, उसने छोड़ भी दिया इसी प्रेशर की वजह से, टेंशन की वजह से। गाइड बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर करते थे और लिटरली मेरे सामने का केस है, उन्होंने पूरा छोड़ दिया। लेकिन बाद में जो उनके प्रोफेसर है, उन्होंने तो दूसरे स्टूडेंट पे ही इल्जाम लगा दिया कि इसकी वजह से छोड़ के गया है। लेकिन हम लोगों को मालूम है सारा कुछ कंडीशन क्या है यहाँ पे। और लेडीज लोग जो हमारे यहाँ लेडीज स्टाफ है उनके साथ भी बहुत अच्छा नहीं होता है, क्योंकि गाइड किसी को कंसीडर नहीं करते, अपने अपने आगे किसी को नहीं समझते हैं वो लोग। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि हमारा एक ग्रुप बने, चाहे यूपी का हो चाहे पूरे, उसको मीडिया के सामने इतने साइंटिस्ट लोगों ने इतना अच्छा, लेकिन जय विज्ञान कभी नहीं माना जाता, क्योंकि यहाँ पे वैज्ञानिकों को कोई वैल्यू नहीं दी जाती, हम लोग ज़्यादा रहती है, इसीलिए मैक्सिमम 80% लोग इंडिया छोड़ के जाते हैं। बस मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि इसको कंसीडर किए और सभी लोग साथ में आएंगे, तभी हम लोग कुछ आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, अपनी बात को सबके सामने रख सकते हैं। हेलो, आरोग्य दास जी, मेरी बात
जी 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 जी, शुक्रिया रवि जी को अपने बात रखने के लिए। अच्छा, मेरा एक आग्रह रहेगा, रवि जी आप म्यूट कर दीजिए अभी।
ओके।
हाँ जी, तो मेरा आग्रह रहेगा कि जो कोई भी अपना बात रखना चाहे, अपना ये पर रेज हैंड नाम का एक ऑप्शन है, वहाँ पर हैंड रेज करे। अच्छा, निशांत फिजा, ये आइजर मोहाली पंजाब से है, आप बोलिए। निशांत फिजा हैंड रेज किए हैं।
हेलो,
हाँ जी, बोलिए।
can you hear me? Hi, so I am a senior, fifth year PhD student in IISER Mohali. So the point I wanted to raise here is that we research scholars and also the previous year it was raised was 2015. 2014-15 at that time. So every time the research scholars had to build up a movement and leave their labs and go on protesting for days in front of the government offices to get their fellowship raised. Whereas in other government sectors, the salary or whatever it is said, it is raised systematically in terms with in the keeping it in terms with the inflation in the market. But we every time we have to do this. So I think we should push the government to make a policy which will increase the research scholar fellowship accordingly to the inflation in the market every time. And we don't have to leave the labs for months to sit in and put in jails or something. So this is one point I wanted to raise, which I think everyone will agree. Thanks.
Thank you, Nishant. This is important point that has been raised earlier also, that this fellowship, this should be regularly increased. Every 3 or 4 years, we have to come to streets for months, even years. So this should be systematic, like DA or other things. Similarly, okay. So thanks, Nishant, for raising her point. So now I'll request, I see we have some friends from Kashmir. So I'll request someone from Jammu and Kashmir to speak briefly. We have MM Sohil, we have Dr. Bilal Ahmed Bhatt. So please tell briefly.
Hello. Am I audible?
Sohil साहब बोलिए. Yes.
Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum to everybody. हम इस का रेजुलेशन का सपोर्ट करते हैं और दूसरी बहुत सारे साथियों ने कहा जैसे सभी स्कॉलर के साथ अलग अलग किस्म का भेदभाव होता है, तो एक्चुअल में यूनिवर्सिटी के डिपार्टमेंट में या यूनिवर्सिटी के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में प्रोटेस्ट करने से मुझे नहीं लगता कुछ होने वाला है। और सबसे बड़ी जो बात है मुझे लगता है कहीं गवर्नमेंट के सिस्टम में इस चीज को कहीं सामने लाने की कोशिश करनी हमें, क्योंकि अब ये हर यूनिवर्सिटी में कोई न कोई एपिसोड होता है रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स के खिलाफ। बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स के साथ मतलब वाबस्ता है, उनमें ये काम नहीं हो रहा है, प्रॉब्लम्स हो रही हैं। तो ये जब तक न गवर्नमेंट के जो कानों के ऊपर जो कोई जो ही नहीं रिंग रही है, जब तक न उनके इस क्या कहते हैं सिस्टम में आ जाएगा, तो उनके सिस्टम में उनके नजर में ये चीज है ही नहीं कि रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स को कौन सी प्रॉब्लम है। सबसे इस वक्त जब हम देखते हैं रिसर्च का जो सबसे बड़ा एक सोर्स है, एक रिसोर्स है हमारे एजुकेशन फील्ड में, तो वही अगर ये कमजोर हो तो हमारा पूरा सिस्टम जो है कंट्री का वो कमजोर हो सकता है। तो मैं अपनी बात ये रखना चाहता हूँ, प्रोग्राम बहुत अच्छा है और ये जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है डिस्ट्रो क्या है कि पूरा मुझे इसका कोई पता नहीं, लास्ट ईयर से मैं मेंबर बना हूँ इसका। तो ये अच्छा है कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक वॉइस को लेके या दूसरी बात यह है कि रिसर्च स्कॉलर की हर जगह प्रॉब्लम है। ये एक ही जगह नहीं है, एक ही यूनिवर्सिटी में नहीं है, स्टेट या सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी में, हर इंस्टीट्यूट में मतलब किसी न किसी वजह से जो है उनकी हरासमेंट हो रही है, मेंटली टॉर्चर हो रहे हैं, तो बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं। लेकिन मेरा कहना यह है कि इस चीज को जो है ये ग्राउंड लेवल पे इम्प्लीमेंट होना चाहिए, मतलब कोई ना कोई कहीं सामने आना चाहिए। हम काम अगर कर रहे हैं, हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन काम कर रही है, लड़के रिसर्च स्कॉलर सुसाइड कर रहे हैं, बट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग एट ग्राउंड लेवल, किसको दिल पे लग रही है, कोई सोच नहीं रहा है, कोई मतलब मुंह से तो अच्छी कोई बात भी नहीं निकाल रहा है कि रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स को हो क्या रहा है, उनकी प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है, वो हल कैसे हों, वो रिसर्च स्कॉलर है क्या चीज, मतलब वो उनकी कंट्रीब्यूशन किस फील्ड में है, कहाँ है, मतलब ये किसी को एहसास ही नहीं हो रहा है। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि जब तक नहीं इस चीज को जो है किसी के सामने आ जाए, जो कोई ऐसे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, ऐसे सेक्शन में जहां पे हमारी कहीं वॉइस बने, तो तभी ये काम हो सकता है। वरना अदरवाइज एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन काम कर रही हैं, दूसरे कोई एनजीओज कोई काम कर रहे हैं, उनके अपने अपने मतलब अपने अपनी लिमिटेशन में वो फुकारते रहे, चीखते रहे, चिल्लाते रहे, जब काम ही नहीं होगा, हमारी कहीं तसल्ली नहीं होगी, हमारे कहीं फैसिलिटेट नहीं हम होंगे, रिसर्च के हित में कोई काम नहीं होगा, तो कोई काम ऐसा बनने वाला नहीं है। जैसे मैं अपने बहुत ही कम टाइम दिया, बहुत सारे लोग बोलने वाले हैं, तो मैं अपनी बात इन्हीं अल्फाजों में खत्म करना चाहता हूँ। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सोहेल जी, आपका अपना बात रखने के लिए। सच में ये जो पूरा सिस्टम और स्ट्रक्चर जैसे बना है, उसके लिए ही हमको कोशिश करना है, उसका जो चेंजेस है जरूरी है वो लाया जा सके। तो अभी आगे जाने से पहले आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम डॉक्टर अनिंदिता भद्र। She is one of the main speakers of today's program, and she is a faculty at IISER Kolkata. Welcome, madam.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. अच्छा, और नेक्स्ट हम आगे जाएंगे। तो अभी मैं आग्रह करूंगा दिल्ली से कोई स्कॉलर जो इस मीटिंग पे हाजिर है वो कुछ बोले। मुझे दिखाई पड़ रहा है कि यहाँ पर नरेश जी है, वो जामिया मिलिया इस्लामिया दिल्ली से है। नरेश जी, आप कुछ रखिए अपनी बात।
थैंक यू सो मच अर्घ्या जी।
जी
so
वीडियो ऑन करके बोलिए।
Myself Naresh, I'm working some problem is coming up in the video.
ओके कोई नहीं, आप बोलिए।
हाँ, तो just give me a second. Yeah, sorry for the interruption from my point, from my side. So I want to raise three issues here, which is I see as a pertinent in this present day scenario. Which one first problem is, which is a general in nature and applies to every scholars throughout the India and throughout the universities. That is one. That one is the major problem are faced by the scholars coming from the supervisor. and supervisors, behaves like he's a omnipotent. Though they are the qualifier, we are not questioning their academic credentials, but because of their credentials, they are forcefully imposing on the scholars such a way that scholars feeling suffocated. So there should be a controlling system for the supervisor. If that is not possible, there should be a grievance redressal system at the university level and at the central level. It could be possible that university level existing grievance cells could be compromised because of the considering different their own limitations. So what I feel is there should be a linkage, back end and front end linkage to the supervisor and the student. And in between, if any grievance cell exists at the university level and at the central level, that would be helpful. So it will be in general nature. The another particular problem is that is in present day COVID situation, because of which we are government is extending the deadlines. So far 1.5 years has been extended to submit our thesis, but this is not the case with the extending our scholarships. We are not, though it's not the right time to push for the increase in our fellowship amount. Rather than timely getting a fellowship itself is enough for us to survive in this pandemic situation. So what I see is extending the existing fellowship for another 1 year or 6 months. That would be very helpful, and timely giving the fellowship itself is grateful in itself. Another thing is considering present day scenario.
नरेश जी, आपका आवाज बंद हो गया.
Yeah, sorry, I'm facing some technical problems, so yeah, I will leave it. Yeah.
ओके, थर्ड पॉइंट बोल लीजिए. और एक पॉइंट था आपके पास, अभी सुनाई दे रहा है. अच्छा, so we have got 2 points. One is a working mechanism in which grievances can be efficiently addressed, and the second point is extension and regular fellowship, both of which are, I think, very important. So I will request Naresh ji to write his third point in the message box. We will take it from there. अच्छा, तो अभी दिल्ली का ही JNU से मनोज श्रीवास जी है यहाँ पर, तो मैं आग्रह करूंगा कि मनोज जी आप कुछ रखिए ब्रीफली.
Thank you so much, Argya Das, for providing me this opportunity. मुझे अभी पता चला कि एक ग्रुप है हमारा भी एक, जिसपे हम अपनी बात रख सकते हैं और कह सकते हैं. दिस इज गुड. और मैं वैसे अभी 2-3 महीनों से ही देख रहा था ये ग्रुप चल रहा है, लेकिन एक बात मैंने अभी नोटिस किया है कि जो इन्होंने बोला MM सोहिल, जो कश्मीर के रहने वाले हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि हमारी बात नहीं सुनी जाती है. दिस इज राइट, क्योंकि हमारे पास यूनिटी नहीं है. हमें मतलब कि बताना हुआ कि अगर रिसर्च स्कॉलर नहीं भी होंगे ना तो क्या फर्क पड़ सकता है. सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट ये है. मैं अपनी कहानी बताना चाहता हूँ. जब मैं, वैसे मेरा सुपरवाइजर बहुत अच्छे हैं. जो मैं PhD कर रहा था तो मेरे सुपरवाइजर मुझे मतलब बहुत अच्छे सुपरवाइजर मिले मुझे. प्रोफेसर कृष्णा मिश्रा और डॉक्टर ज्योति पांडे, इन्होंने मुझे बहुत सपोर्ट किया. लेकिन इवन दैट जो जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में था, सेंटर ऑफ बायोमेडिकल रिसर्च लखनऊ में था, उस टाइम मुझे 2019 में, मैं एक कहानी बता रहा हूँ अपनी खुद की जो मेरे ऊपर बीती है, मैं वो चीज बता रहा हूँ कि क्या हुआ था.
छोटे में बताइए.
छोटे में बताऊंगा, ठीक है. अच्छा, इट्स ओके. छोटे में ये चीज है कि स्कॉलर्स को किस तरीके से सुपरवाइजर तो नहीं परेशान करता, लेकिन और भी सारे जो लोग होते हैं वो परेशान करते हैं. इवन डायरेक्टरी परेशान कर सकता है, अगल बगल के दूसरे लोग भी परेशान कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, तो अगर पूरे रिसर्च स्कॉलर हमारे एक यूनिट पे रहेंगे, अगर किसी के साथ कोई प्रॉब्लम होती है, अगर उसको प्रॉब्लम को सामने रख के हम एक डायरेक्टर से भी लड़ सकते हैं, एक क्या बोलते हैं, एक सरकार से भी लड़ाई की जा सकती है। तो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि हमें एक यूनिटी इम्पोर्टेंट है, और हमें ये बताना भी है कि हम भी कहीं एग्जिस्ट करते हैं। अगर हम नहीं होंगे तो जैसे केमिस्ट्री की, मेडिसिनल केमिस्ट्री की बात करते हैं, तो अगर हम लोग एक रूट डेवलप नहीं करेंगे तो जो मार्केट में मेडिसिन आती है वो नहीं आ पाएंगी। तो हमें ये बताना होगा कि हमारा भी कहीं ना कहीं योगदान है, इनडायरेक्टली नहीं, इनडायरेक्टली चाहे इनडायरेक्टली। तो दिस इज मेन पॉइंट कि सेकंड प्लीज। हाँ, मैंने देखा है कि बहुत लोगों की सुपरवाइजर थोड़ा परेशान करते हैं, और उनको कुछ लोग एनओसी भी नहीं देते हैं और रिकमेंडेशन भी नहीं देते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा परेशान करते हैं। तो ये चीज भी नहीं होनी चाहिए। तो वो भी एक मान रखती है कि अगर एक सर्विस का ग्रुप होगा तो सब लोग फाइट कर सकते हैं कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। थैंक यू सो मच।
जी शुक्रिया मनोज जी। ये इम्पोर्टेंट बात है कि जो सोहेल भाई ने भी बोला कि पहली बात है हमको यूनिटी रखना है, तभी हम एक डायरेक्शन में जा पाएंगे साथ मिलके। जी शुक्रिया, शुक्रिया आपके बात रखने के लिए। अच्छा, अभी हाउस में और भी काफी सारे स्कॉलर्स है, तो आगे जो बात रखना चाहेंगे, वैसे दिल्ली से बहुत सारे स्टेट से रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, बहुत सारे स्कॉलर्स अपने अपने बात रखे। फिलहाल राजस्थान से या हिमाचल प्रदेश, वहां से कोई आवाज अभी तक सुने नहीं दिया। तो अगर बहुत से कोई स्कॉलर यहाँ पर है तो प्लीज अपना बात रखे। So if there are scholars from Rajasthan and Himachal Pradesh, please say here what do you want to say very briefly, because many states from North India, they have already placed scholars from the other states, they have placed several important points. We will also want to know the voice from all the states. And this house is actually open for say 5 more minutes. So the scholars who are present in the house, in the meeting, you can tell whatever you want to tell. अच्छा, दोनों हाथ उठाया है। संजीत कुमार, आप बोलिए, आप कहाँ से है और ये भी बोलिए कौन सी इंस्टीट्यूट से।
Good evening all, this is Sanjit Kumar from Central University of Haryana. I have enrolled this year only. I'm facing few problems I just want to share with you all guys. क्या है कि सबसे पहली प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमें आगे MHRD या UGC से बात करके एक ऐसे मैकेनिज्म को बनाना चाहिए जहाँ पे लोग ओपेक तरीके से, ट्रांसपेरेंट तरीके से नहीं, ओपेक कॉन्फिडेंशियल तरीके से अपनी चीजों को रख पाए। जो आज सोनिया डबास के साथ हुआ है वो शायद कल हमारे साथ भी हो सकता है। तो कुछ ऐसा मैकेनिज्म होना चाहिए जहां हमारे गाइड को पता ना चले कि किसने कंप्लेन किया है, क्या किया है। इफ समवन इज फेसिंग समथिंग दे कैन डायरेक्टली, जो साहब ने बात की अभी कश्मीर से, एक साहब से उन्होंने बात की कि एक ग्रीवियंस के लिए बनाना चाहिए। माय सेकंड पॉइंट इज कि many times we are calling non-net fellowship. So when we are calling it non-net fellowship, then what about net scholars, those who have qualified for net? उनके लिए क्या होगा? JRF, they are getting JRF fellowship. non-net जो नॉट नेट वाले भी हैं और बिना नेट वाले भी हैं, उनके लिए भी एक है। तो मेरी ये गुजारिश है कि अगर हम, जैसा कि अभी बात हो रही है डेमोक्रेटिक जो भी अलायंस है हमारी, मैं अभी 10 दिन पहले ही इसके बारे में जान पाया हूँ, तो मैं इसके माध्यम से ही बात आगे रखना चाहूँगा कि हमें भी, मैं एक नेट क्वालिफाइड हूँ और मुझे उसी कैटेगरी में रखा गया नॉन नेट क्वालिफाइड में। अगर नॉन नेट क्वालिफाइड है देन व्हाई नेट क्वालिफाइड पीपल आर कंसिडर अंडर दिस कैटेगरी ओनली? उनके लिए एक अलग कैटेगरी होनी चाहिए, फेलोशिप की भी अमाउंट अलग होनी चाहिए। द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू रेज टुडे ओनली, जिस तरह से कॉलेज के सारे फैकल्टीज, सारे ग्रुप बी, ग्रुप सी, ग्रुप ए, ग्रुप बी, जितने भी एडमिन के लोग हैं, उनके लिए जिस तरह से सैलरी क्रेडिट 31st या 1st ऑफ एवरी मंथ होती है, उस तरह से हमारी फेलोशिप क्यों नहीं हर मंथ क्रेडिट होती है? हमें हर बार फेलोशिप के लिए ही क्यों लड़ाई करनी पड़ती है? वो 10 तारीख, 20 तारीख, कभी 1 महीने बाद, कभी 2 महीने बाद। इस तरह का मैकेनिज्म डेवलप होना चाहिए जिससे ऑटोमेटिकली, क्योंकि हम स्टूडेंट हैं, वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू लीव दैट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू लीव आवर पीएचडी इन अ सडन नोटिस। तो हमें भी उस तरीके से ही ट्रीट करना चाहिए जिस तरीके से यूनिवर्सिटी या कॉलेज के अदर स्टाफ्स को किया जाता है एज फार एज फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस इज कंसर्न। फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस देते समय बहुत बार यूनिवर्सिटीज ऐसा बिहेव करती है जैसे दे आर गिविंग भीख टू अस। उनको लगता है कि हमें भीख दे रहे हैं। दिस इज आवर राइट ओनली, हमारा राइट है और हमें ये मिलना चाहिए। पर यूनिवर्सिटीज बहुत बार ऐसा क्रिएट कर देती है, ऐसे सिनेरियोज लाइक फॉर सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हरियाणा वी आर फाइटिंग फ्रॉम लास्ट 3 मंथ्स कि हमें नॉन नेट स्कॉलरशिप दिया जाए। मैं खुद 6 साल जॉब ड्रॉप करके पीएचडी ज्वाइन किया है और now I am not getting any assistance, financial assistance from university. So it is now totally tough task for me to manage all my research work, spite of research work, other things also. तो क्यों नहीं इन सब चीज़ों को बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट तरीके से लिया जाता है। और हमें, जैसा कि और लोगों ने भी कहा, जैसा कि सोनिया डबास के साथ भी हुआ, हमें एक कमोडिटी के रूप में क्यों देखा जाता है। वी आर नॉट द कमोडिटी, वी आर हेयर टू डू सम रिसर्च, या वी आर टोटली रेडी टू डू सम टास्क ऑफ आर गाइड एंड ऑल। पर हमें एक कमोडिटी के रूप में क्यों देखा जाता है। हमें हमेशा ऐसा क्यों फील कराया जाता है कि आप अगर यूनिवर्सिटी से कुछ ले रहे हैं दैट इज लाइक का भीख। तो मैं इन्हीं 2-3 पॉइंट्स से आपसे गुजारिश करूंगा कि आप इन पॉइंट्स को आगे रखें ताकि इस पॉइंट्स पे कुछ हो। एक तो नॉन नेट का, अगर कोई नेट क्वालिफाइड है तो उसको एक अलग से कुछ स्कॉलरशिप अमाउंट मिलनी चाहिए, दैट विल बी इन बिटवीन 8,000 एंड 32,000। और जो फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस है वो टाइम पे मिलनी चाहिए। दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड, थैंक यू।
जी संजीत जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट सोचने वाले पॉइंट्स के लिए। अभी ये जो ओपन सेशन है जिसमें स्कॉलर्स का से हम डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं वो अभी मैं खत्म करना चाहूँगा कुछ ही 2-3 मिनट में। अभी और एक हाथ उठा है सुखी लोचाब ने, आप 1 या 2 मिनट में कुछ बोलिए। सुखी लोचाब, यू कैन speak very briefly within 1 or 2 minutes. After that, we'll go for the next phase.
Thank you so much. सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। Am I audible?
Yes. आप कहाँ से हैं और बहुत थोड़ा बोल दीजिए।
मैं सुखविंदर बात कर रहा हूँ गुरु जम्बेश्वर यूनिवर्सिटी हिसार से।
ओके जी, बोलिए।
जहाँ से मतलब सोनिया डबास का एक मामला है। मेरी बिल्कुल एक मतलब पर्सनल एक राय है। सभी स्कॉलर्स को कहना चाहूंगा जैसे कि हर एक यूनिवर्सिटी में हमें बहुत सारे हमारे पास स्कॉलर्स होते हैं, अच्छे टीचर्स भी होते हैं। तो आप इंटरेक्शन जरूर रखिए किसी न किसी के साथ। जब आप इंटरेक्शन रखेंगे आपको जो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं कहीं ना कहीं से आप दूसरे लोगों को भी बताएंगे तो आपके लिए एक ग्रीवियंस रिड्रेसल सिस्टम आपके दोस्त ही चला देते हैं। बहुत बार हमने देखा है हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में भी बहुत सारे लोगों को जब समस्याएं हुई हैं उनके गाइड भी चेंज हुए हैं, स्कॉलर्स भी इकट्ठा हुए हैं उनकी प्रॉब्लम्स को लेकर। सोनिया डबास का जहां तक मामला है ये बहुत अनफॉर्चुनेट है कि सोनिया डबास का मतलब कोई इंटरेक्शन नहीं था स्कॉलर के साथ भी, ना किसी और मतलब दूसरी चीजों में। तो कहीं ना कहीं अगर हमारे साथ में ये सिस्टम हो, सिस्टम तो अलग बात है, अगर पर्सनली हम थोड़ा सा इंटरेक्शन दूसरे स्कॉलर्स के साथ भी रखें, दूसरी बातें जब हों तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा ये मतलब पर्सनली भी हम बहुत बार चीजें हैं, मतलब ऐसी ग्रेवियंस जो है, ऐसी जो प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं। हेलो
जी
जी, थैंक यू।
हाँ, थैंक यू सुखिंदर जी आपका बात रखने के लिए। आपका सुझाव ये है कि स्कॉलर जो है वो अपने से कम्युनिकेशन रखे। तो
बिल्कुल सर।
जी ठीक है, थैंक यू ये सजेशन रखने के लिए। अभी ये जो सेशन है ये हम खत्म करेंगे, उसके पहले हम रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि बहुत सारे देयर आर एक्चुअली मेनी स्कॉलर्स हु आर not from North Indian states, but they strongly asked to be there in the meeting. So if there is anything, any point or suggestion, you can tell very briefly and then we just finish this meeting. I mean this part, this session of the meeting. अच्छा, सत्ता अब्दुल्ला, okay, please tell.
Good evening, one and all. Myself, Satyanarayana from Usman University, research scholar, so Telangana state. Friends, already all research scholars place here all points. Here also in Telangana, Usman University and other central universities also same problems we are facing regarding fellowship, extension, mental and physical harassments. Like this, we are facing here also. So many friends told unitedly we have to fight all these our problems. So we're also thinking here Telangana Usman University and other universities also. I am giving my place. I am placing my solidarity through this webinar to the North India Convention. I'm very happy like holding this like meetings. At the same time, I am suggesting DRSO. So better to plan All India Convention. So at the last week of this month or next month. So thank you.
Thank you, Satyanarayan. This is a very important suggestion, and actually we have something in our mind which we will inform duly. Okay, so now we are concluding the first session where the convention resolution is read and the thoughts, suggestions and issues of research scholars from various parts of the country is expressed. We have very eminent speakers among us who are also eminent faculties in several institutions. So they will be speaking on all these points. They have heard from all of us and accordingly they will place their points. Just before that, I just want to tell that really there are so many issues with faculties and scholars, but really faculties, we are not really fighting with the faculties, right? We are actually on the same boat. The faculties are also students and scholars sometime. Also after some time, we will also become faculties. Will we become like the faculties that we are alleging now? No, right? So there is something in the system, there is something in the structure which needs to be changed and addressed. So this is where the system that is making such problematic things, that is really responsible behind such problematic things, that should be really fought upon. That is what I just want to tell after this meeting, and so many other problems and structural issues, policy level issues that came up. So now I just want to enter the second session where the main speakers will place their perspective on all these issues. So first of all, I would request Professor Queenie Pradhan to speak. Professor Queenie Pradhan is a professor of history in the School of Law and Legal Studies, and she is also Dean of School of Mass Communication in Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University of Delhi. So Professor Pradhan, please switch on your mic and video and place your points. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arghya, for inviting me to this scholars convention, and I feel honored to be here, that you have reposed trust, and as you said, that this is not about the faculty and the research scholars. It is also, there are structural issues also involved in this. So certainly, because we have been seeing over a period of time, and we have also been research scholars, and there have always been certain hesitancy when it came to the issue of research. And I know for a long time where people have hesitated, more so I'm sure there would be faculty from science stream who would be able to enlighten on this issue, that how many promising young scholars have not actually gone ahead with further research because of the challenges they had heard of from others. So there are these issues which researchers have been facing, and they have been facing it individually, alone, and in their personal capacity. Now, the initiative taken by all of you is laudable, that you all would like to come together and consolidate it on a common platform, which is what is needed. Because I have been observing this over a period of time, being from social sciences and humanities, that how there is a certain degree, those certain changes have come, regulations come from UGC and from other places, but at the same time, there is a certain degree of helplessness among the research scholars, as if their voices are being suppressed, they're not being heard. And does not bode well for the quality of research. It's an extremely demoralizing atmosphere in which is not conducive for research. And there are many reasons. We don't know, but yes, many of you have highlighted, and it's your angst is coming out. It's very obvious, and of course, Sonia Dabas' case being the latest case, which unfortunately has once again woken us to it, but also the question that why is it that it is not being taken up at a large scale? Why is it that it is not capturing the imagination of the vast range of people? Why is it that it is only confined to a few section of the scholars or the academic community? Why is it that the plight of the research scholars is not being focused upon? And that is an issue which we certainly need to look into. Maybe it is a kind of a bias in our country with regard to research. Research has not been looked upon highly, exceptions apart. And that has always been leading to a sense of frustration, which is somewhere where we need to break down this kind of a thing. And as you have also mentioned in your resolution, bring about the dignity for the research scholars. That is first and foremost. Second, institutional responsibilities. Universities have to lead from front in providing that kind of an environment where they should be able to give that kind of a confidence to every research scholar that they are an important asset for the university because their research matters. And for that, research scholars should be able to raise their concerns without any kind of fear. This is something which only institutions can encourage. There are, of course, ICCs, internal complaints committees, grievance redressal mechanisms, where efforts are being made at different levels to ensure that the research scholars or anybody raising these concerns should not in any way feel intimidated. We certainly know that the power structures are highly imbalanced and supervisors do have a lot of power. But there can be mechanism within these grievance portals or grievance mechanism to ensure that students, that there is also a degree of accountability. So that certainly has to be seen and worked upon. As somebody said, and I also would like to elucidate on that, we need to have some degree of interface between the research scholars and the department or the faculty of the department in order to understand the problems and challenges of the scholars. And this kind of a dialogue and interface between the faculty and the research scholar should be part of their regular discussions. And there should not be any kind of ill feeling that no, if a research scholar is talking and is not raising a concern, it has to be taken only in a negative manner. Somewhere this kind of a mechanism has to come in. If they are raising concerns, it's a democratic forum to raise their concerns, and it is for the department or the university to resolve their problems. This is something somewhere it has to come in. For that, a certain degree of sensitization has to take place among the faculty and the research scholars that this is a concern. The research scholars have their anxieties and concerns, which can only be assuaged by some kind of institutional mechanism, be it at the level of the department or any other level. So this is something which has to be brought about. You cannot simply let it simmer or shove it under the carpet. It has to come out and it has to be discussed, and then only can we have an open forum where we all can come and at least air out our differences. That's very important to do because academics, we also have differences and disagreements. Why can't the research issues also be taken up at that forum? And yes, I wondered that Sonia Dabas was harassed for such a long time, and nobody came up. Why was it that why can't we have some kind of advisors where the students can at least go and talk their problems with individual advisors? Some kind of a mechanism, some kind of forum for mediation, which could be built into it with the UGC regulations, that students do not feel alone, because research scholars, and they're not even students, they're research scholars. Research scholars should not feel alone, that it is a lonesome project. They are on their own, and it is they and their supervisor. That is what matters. So I personally feel that some kind of a mechanism where students or research scholars can freely come up and discuss their problems, because without that, it is only going to erupt, or it will have these kinds of sad consequences, which we would certainly like to avoid. So this it becomes very important for us, and also the research scholars encouraged to come forward with their problems. That is something which is what I feel would be important to take up, because unfortunately there is such an element of fear that if they will speak up, their supervisor may not continue with their further research with them, and that fear prevents many of them from going forward. So I think, and these are challenges, because we have also been seeing these challenges. We have also been seeing challenges about part-time and regular research scholars, and how there is a certain degree of discouragement for part-time research scholars, but then funding is not sufficient. How do research scholars manage to continue with their research? These are challenges which we see more in the social science and humanities stream. And in the time of pandemic, field research again has become a huge challenge, how to do the field research. Another aspect has been the open access to resources, especially digital resources, which of course, again, is an issue which we are all working on in our university also. We are looking at these challenges, trying to resolve them, but certainly it is important that research scholars forge networks across, and we really thank that you have invited us also, the faculty, so that we all come together. It is not a versus issue. We all need to come together to take up these concerns. Thank you so much.
Many thanks, Professor, for the points you raised. And really, it is not a versus issue. And I really appreciate on behalf of the organization that it is not only scholar solidarity, but solidarity of academia, which really can take us forward. And also, I just want to mention in this regard one very small point, that in today's meeting, throughout this meeting, only one female scholar, I had the voice of only one female scholar, which is also one concern that within our meetings also, when we are among ourselves, more female scholars should need to come up, because it is our platform. So this is just a concern, and I really wonder that in what condition such a scenario prevails, and we need to tackle that. So next, I would request Dr. Anindita Bhadra. She is Associate Professor of Department of Biological Sciences and also Associate Dean of International Relations and Outreach of IJAR, Kolkata. So Professor Bhadra, please place your speech.
Thank you, Argo, for the invitation. So I've been hearing all of you speak.
Madam,
yes?
can you please turn on your video if possible?
I have turned on my video actually.
Yeah. Now it is visible. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for the invitation, and I think you have picked people to come and speak at the convention, knowing that we would all empathize and resonate with your feelings. So I don't need to repeat that. So, one of the things that I have observed being in India, in academia, unfortunately, though we say that we are academicians, most of us have not been able to come out of the feudal nature of our society. So even when you are in the university, we come through a system of education where we still follow something which is reminiscent of the Gurukul, that you have to respect and honor teachers. They look at them with reverence. Teachers need to be followed and respected. So whatever they tell you, you have to just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Don't question, don't argue. And this is something which is drummed into our heads ever since we are in nursery. And a student who asks too many questions is not liked by teachers in school. And this is what we bring into the university. When I teach first year and second year students in ISER, I have gone through this experience. When I tell them, ask me a question, I get complete blank silence for a few seconds. I have actually done this in 1 year, where I told them, if you don't ask a question, I'm not going to teach, because I did not come prepared with the slides or anything. I had thought this is going to be a discussion. And I had asked you to come prepared with a few questions. You don't have questions. I don't know what to teach you. So let's stop the class. Let me go. And I started walking away. And then somebody called back and said, ma'am, I have a question. And once it started, there was a floodgate which opened up, and we went on and on and on, even beyond the 1 hour scheduled time of the class. The questions just came pouring out. This was a class of 200 kids, first years, and they were so reluctant in the beginning to ask their questions. At the end, somebody actually had the courage to come up and tell me that, when you told us the assignment is come up with a question in biology, we just thought you were joking, because nobody ever tells us ask a question. They tell us not to ask too many questions, not to disrupt the flow of the class. That is what we expect to be normal. So, this is also what people do when they go into the system and they are training students for their PhDs. So, we say PhD students, and then it's again this hierarchy. So the supervisor versus the student, the PI versus the student. Have you ever asked yourself why the faculty member is the principal investigator of the project on which you are working, on which you are going to write your thesis? Have you ever objected saying, no, you are not the principal investigator, I am. This is my project. How many of our PhD students actually say, this is my PhD, this is my project, these are my questions? Mostly, students enter a lab, they are given a project, they're asked to do things. I have even heard some people who tell their students, don't think, work. I will do the thinking, you do the working. I'm sorry, that's not what a PhD is about. And then, if the students are doing activities outside the lab, if they are engaging in other things, if they are engaging in forums where they can raise questions, that is tried and suppressed. Most faculty members don't like their students to engage outside the lab, and that is why you're isolated. You don't have a network. You don't discuss your science with people from other labs and other institutes. That is why we don't have a culture where faculty and students exchange ideas as colleagues. You are our colleagues. You are not our slaves, and you have to understand that. Every PhD student needs to understand their rights. You are in a working environment. You have rights just like we do. You need to get your fellowships on time. You need to have a voice. You need to be heard. And when you are working on something which is going to give you your PhD, it should be your PhD. A faculty member should not be doing 30 PhDs in his or her life. They have done a PhD. They have moved on. They are there to facilitate their students do PhDs, not the other way around. PhD students are not our workers, not another pair of hands, not slaves in a factory. They are thinking individuals. A PhD has to teach you how to think, how to innovate, how to come up with problem solving, how to network with people, how to write, how to give presentations, how to teach. Unfortunately, most students in India who have done a PhD don't know any of this. And I will say this with a lot of responsibility. I can be quoted. I sit in interviews. I see people who have gone on to do postdocs. When I was doing a PhD, I have trained postdocs because they did not know how to design experiments. Even though they have done a PhD, I was a third-year PhD student. I belonged to a lab where we were asked to design our experiments, think, and do our problem solving ourselves. And that is how we learned. It is the responsibility of the supervisor to help you learn all of this, to build another thinking scientist, not to just get data and publish papers and grow their own CVs. That is not what a PhD supervisor is supposed to do. I'm sorry. Most of our colleagues do that. And this is where you should know your rights. You should demand your rights. You should say, please don't tell me what to do. Help me when I am stuck, but let me design my own PhD. I don't want to be a carbon copy of you. I want to be me. And that is what you people should wake up and do. Secondly, again, people take advantage of students. They abuse students because of this mentality. I have every right to treat my student the way I feel like. When it's a girl student and a male faculty, there are umpteen examples, including the one that has led to this convention, where a student is harassed, abused, and can be driven to a really deep end. In this case, is suicide, sometimes depression, sometimes quitting their PhDs, sometimes broken marriages. The list can go on and on. And why do we put up with this? I know of students who have been harassed and have never complained. You know, you have to understand this. They say that the student is worried that the supervisor will ruin their careers. What career? You're just beginning your career as a scientist. Quit, leave, start afresh. Don't do a PhD if you don't feel like it. Do 101 things that you can do in life. But your PhD supervisor is already in his career. Naming and shaming will ruin his career, not yours. Please understand that you have the power. First, there are cases where people misuse this power, but then everybody has examples of misuse of power. That does not mean we are not going to give you the power. There are systems, and then there are systems which don't work. Every institute has an anti-sexual harassment cell, or which is supposed to follow Vishaka guidelines. All of that happens. I also know of people, women, senior faculty sitting in committees telling girl students, please put up with it. Why are you, creating such a fuss? It is just a bit of sexual abuse. You have to live with this all your life. You're a girl. I'm sorry, no. You don't have to. You should not have to. Please speak up. Please name those men and get them shamed. Ruin their careers. Do this 5 times. 6th guy will never do this again. You owe this to yourself. You owe this to your juniors. Please tell people joining the lab what your supervisor is really like. When somebody approaches me for joining my lab, I make it a point to share my students' contacts with them and tell them, please talk to my students and find out whether you want to join my lab. I will always say I am the best supervisor in the world, but that's not enough. Please talk to the students who work with me. They will tell you about their personal experiences and then decide whether you want to join me or not. It might be the work you don't like. It might be the environment you don't like. It might be me you don't like. It's fine. But please get feedback and please give feedback to your juniors. That is the biggest service you can do as a scholar yourself. And yes, regular fellowships is something which all of you should demand. In this COVID times, I'm going through this trouble all the time. I don't know what to tell my students who tell me, I want to go out and do work because my time is running out. I am fearful about their safety, but I also know that time is running out. Supervisors have a responsibility to redesign, help them get things done online, which you can't, when you can't go to the lab. Safety is a priority, but we also need to push the government for extended fellowships, not just extended time for submission of thesis. That is peanuts. Everybody can give you extended time. People always take extended time for their PhDs, and that's accepted. That's not enough. Again, you're not slaves that you'll keep working without a fellowship. If you have lost 6 months, we have also lost a lot of time. We've been given our salaries. Why will you not be given extra fellowship? You have to demand it. It's your right. And as I said in the beginning, please know your rights. You are in a working environment where you have equal rights as us. We are just, so I'm going to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. So yes, we agree. We need to be, So we need to be aware of our rights, and we need to have courage, and also we need to be together also. so that we can really put up a fight and sustain it. So this is what I feel, the message. And many thanks, madam. We hope we will have you also in future along this fight. So next, I would request the final speaker of this session, Dr. Brajesh Singh Katiyar. He is the Associate Professor and Head of Department of Biochemical Engineering, Harcourt Butler Technical University, Kanpur. So Dr. Brajesh, please deliver your speech.
Thank you, Arga. I listened very carefully whole session, and it was very vibrating, very mind-blowing, and naturally very much encouraging to our research scholars, Professor A. Bhadra and Professor Pradhan. She spoke very well on the topics given by the anchor, and the topic which was assigned me was related with the new education policy 2020, NEP 2020, and its effect on the research. In fact, before going in detail of new education policy, which is extended into more than 66 pages in English version, and hardly 2 pages are given in the research content, out of which most of the paragraphs are related with the preamble importance of research and ancient research and what the research direction should be in India. In fact, new education policy basically not given a due respect to the research, in fact, and research scholars, which are basically backbone of the research, they are also not given importance in the new education policy. ये नॉर्थ इंडिया का हमारा कन्वेंशन है, तो मैं सोच रहा था थोड़ा मिक्स मोड में मैं डिस्कस करूंगा आपसे. इनफैक्ट कुछ जो रिसर्च से रिलेटेड चीजें हैं उनके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा आपको शेयर करना चाहता हूं. What is present status of Indian society? Indian society is not even thinking in the line of science. ये जो हमारा समाज है ये बिल्कुल भी वैज्ञानिक चिंतन इस समाज में नहीं है, और ये ढोंग पाखंड अंधविश्वास से भरा हुआ समाज है. ये जो भी ढोंग अंधविश्वास और पाखंड है, इसके लिए अब तो ये स्पॉन्सर्ड है, sponsored by the many agencies. In fact, sometimes government agencies and some private agencies जो कि इस तरह की चीजों को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं. इसलिए हम बहुत अच्छे रिसर्च स्टेटस पर आज नहीं पहुंच पाए. अगर हम रिसर्च आउटपुट को पेटेंट से रिलेट करें तो एक सिंपल डेटा अभी मैंने पीछे देखा, चाइना जो है लगभग 13 लाख से ज्यादा पेटेंट एप्लीकेशन को फाइल कर रहा है. यूएसए 6 लाख के आसपास पेटेंट एप्लीकेशन फाइल करता है, और जो इंडिया का डेटा है वो 45,000 के अराउंड पेटेंट एप्लीकेशन हैं जो इंडिया में फाइल हो रहे हैं. ये हो सकता है पेटेंट इज रिलेटेड विद साइंस and engineering, innovation and invention, but research is not merely of that kind. Research humanities में भी है, research social sciences में भी है, और other disciplines डिसिप्लिन्स में भी है. But it is very clear that we are far behind in the research as far as the whole scenario of the world is concerned. देखिए, जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स की इस समय स्थिति है बहुत ही दयनीय है. इस दयनीय स्थिति के लिए हमारा सिस्टम रिस्पॉन्सिबल है. ये सिस्टम केवल एकेडमिक सिस्टम ही नहीं है, इट इज आल्सो अ गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम. आप देखें कि इट इज नॉट मैटर ऑफ फेलोशिप ओनली. मेनी यूनिवर्सिटीज जहां पर रिसर्च विदाउट फेलोशिप हो रही है, जहां पर बच्चों को पैसा देना पड़ता है सुपरवाइजर को, यूनिवर्सिटीज को. देयर आर मेनी प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटीज नाउ केम अप इन लास्ट 10 or 20 years. उन बच्चों की हालत बहुत ही खराब है. दे आर पेइंग अ लॉट, बट रिसर्च शुड नॉट बी विदाउट फेलोशिप. लेकिन इंडिया में मोर देन 50% जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर रजिस्टर्ड होते हैं इन ऑल यूनिवर्सिटीज, वेदर दे आर गवर्नमेंट और प्राइवेट, दे आर बेसिकली विदाउट फेलोशिप. उनके हालात बहुत ही खराब हैं. अनदर इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज दैट फेलोशिप में वेरिएशन बहुत है. 8,000 to 28,000 जहां कहीं से भी आता है. प्रोजेक्ट्स आ नहीं रहे हैं, गवर्नमेंट ने बैन कर दिया है, कहीं से पैसा मिल नहीं रहा. रिसर्च पूरे होने के पहले ही फेलोशिप को बंद कर दिया जाता है. मैक्सिमम फेलोशिप इज फॉर 3 years and extension is not provided for fellowship, but many students are completing their research in 5, 6, 7 or 8 years. तो क्या है, वो बंधुआ मजदूर है जिसको पैसा भी नहीं मिलता, लेकिन उसको रिसर्च ऑब्लिगेशन जो भी प्रोजेक्ट्स के हैं उसको पूरा करना पड़ता है. वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट सिचुएशन. इसके बाद जर्नल पब्लिकेशन एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है. ऑल रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स आर नोइंग इट. कई सिंडिकेट बने हुए हैं वर्ल्ड वाइड, इंडिया में भी बहुत सारे हैं. दे आर चार्जिंग अ लॉट ऑफ अमाउंट टू पब्लिश द पेपर. वो रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स को अपने जेब से भरना पड़ता है. आपका रिसर्च पब्लिकेशन कितना भी अच्छा हो, इफ यू आर सेंडिंग टू सम जर्नल and it is mandatory requirement at most of the places कि at least 2-3 peer reviewed journal, index journal publication is required. So it is a problem for research scholars. They are not able to publish their research outputs in a good journal, rather they are charged a huge amount. At the same time, a case came in my knowledge from BHU. It is known as a very good university in the constituency of our Prime Minister. A supervisor is taking back 50% amount of the fellowship from the student. ये केस बहुत ही हाईलाइट हुआ यूपी में, उस पर बहुत डिस्कशन हुआ, लेकिन द प्रोफेसर इज फर्दर डिग्निफाइड और जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर था उसके खिलाफ बहुत सारे एक्शन लिए गए और उसको यूनिवर्सिटी से निकाल दिया गया. ये जो हैरेसमेंट है, एंड आई टेल यू इन IIT कानपुर, आई नो इट इज इन कानपुर, almost every year news come कि such and such research scholar suicide cases are increasing, like farmers. The situation of research scholars in India is at par with the farmers of this country. Some more things ki how we should, I am very much impressed with the statements of Professor Madam Bhadra, she was very much clear how research, what should be the model of research, what should research scholars should opt, how they should go ahead for their research. Research is the matter of thinking beyond the box, and this is the reality कि आप क्वेश्चन नहीं कर सकते, आप प्रश्न नहीं पूछ सकते. अगर रिसर्च स्कॉलर प्रश्न नहीं कर सकता तो वो शोध क्या करेगा, वो रिसर्च क्या करेगा. And this is the situation of our society as well. Generally, we are groomed that we should respect our elders, and these things जो सोसाइटी में हो रहा है, जो सोसाइटी की फीलिंग है नॉन साइंटिफिक बेंट ऑफ माइंड से रिलेटेड, जिसमें ढोंग, पाखंड और अंधविश्वास शामिल है, उसी से रिलेटेड जो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति 2020 है, उसमें वही चीज को लिखा गया है. आई वांट टू कोट दैट विच वन इज रिटन, पॉइंट नंबर 17 पॉइंट है जो रिसर्च से रिलेटेड है. उसमें ये लिखा हुआ है, अब समय की मांग है कि भारत जल्द से जल्द एक मजबूत और प्रबुद्ध ज्ञान समाज के रूप में अपनी खोई हुई स्थिति को शीघ्र ही पुनः प्राप्त करे, और मजबूत और प्रबुद्ध ज्ञान समाज तथा दुनिया की 3 बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्थाओं में से एक के रूप में 21वीं सदी में अनुसंधान और नवाचार का नेतृत्व करने के लिए तैयार रहे. नाउ क्वेश्चन इज, खोई हुई, ये जो खोई हुई है ये शो करता है कि हमारा पास्ट रिसर्च में बहुत एडवांस था और हम प्रेजेंट में रिसर्च कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं. रिसर्च इज नॉट फॉर द पास्ट, रिसर्च तो फ्यूचर डेवलपमेंट के लिए होता है. लेकिन यहां पर यह कहा गया है कि इंडिया वॉज ग्लोरियस इन रिसर्च इन द पास्ट. ये जो पास्ट है रिसर्च नहीं है. रिसर्च इज फ्यूचर, रिसर्च इज डेवलपमेंट, रिसर्च इज न्यू आइडियाज. द आइडियाज ऑफ दैट टाइम, जब भारत एक बहुत विकसित ईसवी सन के आसपास, अराउंड 300-400 years BC to 200-300 years AD. This is the duration where really India was a pioneer in all educational and research activities. लेकिन this is not the case today. आज वो उस बात को कह रही है, एजुकेशनल पॉलिसी जो शोध से संबंधित है, रिसर्च से रिलेटेड है, वो कह रहे हैं कि हमें अपने पास्ट को पाना है. तो पास्ट को पाने के लिए रिसर्च है या अपने फ्यूचर को अच्छा बनाना है, इसके लिए रिसर्च है? इन माय ओपिनियन हमें अपने आने वाले भविष्य को अच्छा बनाना है, रिसर्च इस बात के लिए होनी चाहिए. सो दिस इज, इसमें कुछ भी ऐसा नहीं है. इसमें इस एजुकेशन पॉलिसी ने ये एक्सेप्ट किया है कि 0.69% of the GDP of India is only invested on research and development. And in this research and development, all types of, maybe private, maybe a government, and all types of academic industry, everything is involved. All types of organizations are involved in that. So this 0.69% in comparison to another countries where it is 5% or more, this is a research company. And if we see the budget, so budgetary allocations are much less than this figure. Now what government is interested in the policy, there is written only one thing. यहाँ पर एक ही चीज को जिक्र किया गया है कि न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में एक NRF का गठन किया जाएगा, नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन। नाउ नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन की बात की गई है। नाउ वो कहा गया है कि देयर वेरियस फंडिंग एजेंसीज जिनके साथ में वो कोऑर्डिनेट करेगा। उन फंडिंग एजेंसीज के इसमें पॉलिसी में कुछ नाम दिए गए हैं। वो नाम है DST, DAE डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एटॉमिक एनर्जी, DBT डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ बायोटेक्नोलॉजी, ICAR इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्च, ICMR मेडिकल रिसर्च, Indian Council of Historical Research, UGC. These are few names which are mentioned in the new education policy. And it is said in this policy that this foundation will coordinate with all these agencies. Reality is that the foundation, the structure of foundation is not mentioned at all. How it will work, what will be the mechanism, and its organization. It is not at all mentioned. And as far as my knowledge is concerned, I am not aware till date any such foundation is formed. And the same time, एक और चीज इसमें जो from where they will get the funds of all these funding agencies basically are cut down to the level of 50%. It is very pathetic situation. They are writing in this that I am just reading what is mentioned in the new education policy, point number 17.9. It is written here, NRF will competitively fund research in all disciplines. It is ठीक है, but again successful research will be recognized, they will recognize, and where relevant, implemented through close linkage with government agencies as well as with industry and private philanthropic organizations. इसका मतलब ये हुआ जो फंड होंगे वो प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और जो परमार्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सेवा के लिए दूसरों के लिए इस देश में हैं, वहां से फंड जनरेट करेंगे. इट इज ऑल क्लियर कि ये जो फंड जनरेट करने की बात इसमें की गई है, गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट टेकिंग रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि गवर्नमेंट विल फंड टू दीज एजेंसीज. उसमें साफ लिख दिया है कि ये फंड जो है प्राइवेट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, इंडस्ट्रीज और परमार्थ सेवा के लिए जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं वहां से फंड जनरेट किए जाएंगे. नाउ वी कैन इमेजिन द सिचुएशन हाउ द गवर्नमेंट इज damaging the research environment and research activity in this nation. There are certain more things which I want to share. What should be the real situation of research scholars? There should be a collective research classes. This is my opinion. For example, about biotechnology, one area, whatsoever students are registered in biotechnology, they should be divided into groups. There is a problem that there is a communication gap. There is a individualistic approach of supervisor and the scholar. It should be converted into a collective approach. That collective approach is essentially required. And there is a tool, various tools, technology are developed that students of different universities can be clubbed together and they can work on identified problem collectively. So that collective approach of research will give certainly the better output, which one is not happening in our country. This is my personal opinion, which I am interested to share with you. Again, I am coming on the new education policy. What about written here about the foundation? Foundation, again, the things are repeated with the heading of primary activities of NRF, means National Research Foundation. Fund competitive peer-reviewed grant proposals to all types and across all disciplines. ठीक है, ये पहले भी लिखा जा चुका है. Seed, grow and facilitate research and academic institutions through mentoring of such institutions. Mentoring, how foundation will mentor? It is very difficult to understand. I think mentoring is very much a personal approach, 1-to-1. If not 1-to-1, 1-to-10, 1-to-5, 1-to-20, not more than that. I have doubt that such activity is possible to perform by NRF. It would not be possible. So impossible things are mentioned in this policy. Another things which one is mentioned here, breakthroughs will be highlighted. Breakthroughs in the research, कोई नई चीज आई हमारे पूरे देश में रिसर्च के थ्रू, तो उसको हाईलाइट. It means they are only sitting to take the credit, and I doubt if any funding is there, certainly they will catch up and they will file the patent by their name as per terms and conditions of funding agencies. So they will only highlight the things, nothing else, as the intention of the government. Recognize outstanding research and progress. Recognize. Recognition, there is nothing mentioned whether they will award certain medals, certain certificates, and how they will do. It is nothing is there. Only they will recognize. What will be the methodology or modus operandi? It is not mentioned. So this is the new education policy related with the research, and this research is for the university only. One more thing I want to highlight, the intention of the government in the present scenario. We all know the very serious pandemic situation throughout the world, and various countries which are leader of innovation, they were working very fast and with the team research on the vaccine for vaccine development. And I remember Russia that developed the first vaccine, Sputnik, around within a few months or 5-6 months time. And the government of India has not even funded for research to any university and even private organizations. Bharat Biotech, who developed Covaxin, unfortunately could not be recognized in USA because of certain reasons. But the funding of vaccines in India, but in Supreme Court, in the affidavit, they clearly mentioned that Government of India has not funded to for Covaxin or Covishield by Serum Institute. So the in really clearly reflecting new education policy related with and research scenario. Research scenario comes from the society, and society scientific bent of mind today in our new education policy 2020. Thank you very much for patient hearing. Thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Katiar. So he had given a perspective on the policies in which really the research and education is controlled. As I have also told earlier that as we kept on moving with the problems with talking to scholars and organizing scholars, it is really, we found that the policies that hold, that really control how our life and future, the way research ecosystem will be developed. So we found that it is useful that how the new policy is going to affect the already depleted research ecosystem in future, whether it will help or whether it will actually not help. So a perspective came, and of course with this I would like to end this session. Earnest thanks to Professor Pradhan, Dr. Bhadra and Dr. Katiar for your views and perspective, and we earnestly expect that we will have you and faculties, like-minded faculties like you in future, so that the effort to the betterment of academia really accentuated. So with this, I really thank all the faculties, all the scholars who are here in the meeting, and many of my friends who really organized this meeting, which is really not an easy task, but it is, I feel, well accomplished. And so before ending, I would just request Mr. Umesh Moria from MDU to place some announcements. Umesh ji.
जी रखो। हम लोग ऑल इंडिया कन्वेंशन करने के लिए प्लान कर रहे हैं, जो जुलाई के फर्स्ट वीक में हम लोग करेंगे। इस बारे में हम आप सभी को सूचित कर देंगे, और जल्दी ही हम लोग एक ऑल इंडिया सर्वे कंडक्ट करेंगे, जिसमें जो रिसर्च स्कॉलर की जो प्रॉब्लम है उसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे सभी से। और इस कन्वेंशन के बाद, इस कन्वेंशन से संबंधित हम एक फीडबैक फॉर्म आप सब लोगों को मैसेज के थ्रू भेजेंगे, ईमेल और व्हाट्सएप पर। आप लोग से भी अपील है कि आप लोग वो फीडबैक फॉर्म सबमिट करें, फिल करें। और एक और आप लोगों से अपील है कि आप लोग डेमोक्रेटिक रिसर्च स्कॉलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जुड़ें, इसके मेंबर बने, और जो भी इस तरह से अटैक्स या उत्पीड़न, जो इनजस्टिस रिसर्च स्कॉलर के साथ हो रही है, उसको रोकने के लिए जैसे बात सब यहाँ आई है कि हम सब लोगों को एकजुट होना पड़ेगा, टीचर को भी साथ लेते हुए, स्टूडेंट को भी साथ लेते हुए। तो आप लोग से अपील मैं करता हूँ कि आप लोग डेमोक्रेटिक रिसर्च ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से जुड़िए। बस इसी के साथ आप सभी को धन्यवाद। अर्घव जी।
उमेश जी को शुक्रिया। So thank you all again. So I just repeat in English. So we are going to organize an all India convention in first week of July. Actually, we have conducted zonal conventions like North India, South India, Northeast India, East India. In the follow-up, we will organize an all India convention to strengthen the unity of scholars in first week of July. That will be followed by, actually not followed by, but within a few days, we will be starting an all India survey to collect all the issues and opinions of scholars. And then there will be a feedback form that will be sent to all the participants of this meeting for their feedback on this convention. And finally, we make an appeal to all the research scholars to join with DRSO DRSO and to strengthen scholar unit and scholar movement. And in this process, we'll also join with all the like-minded faculties and will strengthen the fight for improvement of academia. So with this, I just want to announce the end of today's convention. तो इसी के साथ ही आज के जो कन्वेंशन का प्रोग्राम है ये समाप्त होता है। सभी को बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और आगे चलने की राह में आपसे फिर से मुलाकात होगा। थैंक यू।